Like he could send them on a recon mission without saying, "Okay, now go steal them."
Yeah.
So
well,
I mean,
it also gets us a closer look at the ships if we do send them out there to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, like we can have steps in this progression. It's just I don't expect Feanor to be standing there explaining his next move to anybody. Like, you know, that's the usual role of the second in command is, let me tell you what the point of what we're doing is. Like, Feanor doesn't do that. He just says, go do this. Why? Because I said so. Like, I give the orders, you obey. That's what we do here.
Well, as they're coming down into Aqualande, we can give Feanor some exposition with Maedhros to explain what's about to happen. The intention was always to talk the Teleri into coming with them.
Mm-hmm. We should give that away, yes, because we kind of want to know that before Feanor steps into the debate he's going to take part in.
We want to know what Feanor wants to do before he ruins it.
Right. We want to see what the goal was. And since it's not going to play out the way he wants, we need to establish the goal beforehand. But we should be in the, like, he's not just explaining to Maedhros. He would have to be like, okay, come with me. We need to get the Teleri on board. They'll be good allies in this. So we need to go talk to Olwe.
Right.
And the question is who comes with for that debate. We could have Maedhros.
He would have to be there. Yeah.
If anybody's going to come with, it'll be him. So it makes sense that if there's a little contingency, but probably not all of the sons, because some of them aren't going to know what happened in that debate, so that Feanor can tell them, Olwe totally insulted us. Like, like Feanor has to have his version come back to his followers, which involves them not being eyewitnesses. But if Maedhros was an eyewitness and thinks his father's view is skewed, that kind of leads to the later difference of opinion. Like,
right. And also, well, and also, here's the thing. Like, he may, because Maedhros is relatively pragmatic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Maedhros could buy into this idea that Feanor is intentionally misleading his people because he needs to, because he doesn't have he has to get them across.
Yeah, Maedhros is 100% on board with, we need the ships. Like, he's sold on that. So something Feanor has said to him has convinced him of that. And he's a proud Noldor. So if he thinks Olwe has insulted him, he will take that just as personally as any other Noldor. Like, he might be somewhat diplomatic, but he's not, like, immune to that. So if he's feeling slighted, then he'll be angry and he'll go along with whatever Feanor says in his version as just, out of anger.
So Dave asks if it's possible the Feanorians might try to recruit some individual Teleri against the will of Olwe. I don't know about individuals, because then we would have to have named characters in order for it to matter. What we should do, though, is have Feanor addressing Olwe in an open setting. Like, it's not just Olwe there.
Right. Because he has an eye to the other Teleri, and Olwe's court should be made up of, like, master shipbuilders and people like that.
Right.
So
the captains of all the ships.
Exactly. That's who would be in the court.
Right. And like the text actually directly says that the Teleri were not swayed. It wasn't it says, but the Teleri were unmoved by aught that he could say. They were grieved indeed at the going of their kinsfolk and long friends, but would rather dissuade them than aid them. Which Olwe is going to be the voice, obviously. But showing that the Teleri themselves are not moved by this is going to be, a big part of this, because we want to show that it's not just
Olwe. It's his people too. He does speak for his people, and not just because he's the leader. He understands the needs of the people.
Right.
And that's something that Feanor does not understand. Like, it should be clear that Feanor does not get the Teleri on any level. Right. And that's why he fails here. Because if he did, he could be devious enough to say what they needed to hear to accomplish what he needed to accomplish.
Right.
If he knew what that was. Like, if he knew what the key was to unlocking them, he'd say it.
Right.
Regardless of whether or not it was true, or, he would strike. And he doesn't, so he doesn't know. He has no idea.
Right. Well, it's kind of like when you hear about Melkor trying to subvert somebody, and then be like, no. There's a lot of that going on too. Sauron with the dwarves, with his inability to recruit the dwarves at the rings, he clearly just doesn't get them at all.
Right, and there's lots of levels where you think these people should be able to figure it out. Like Sauron was one of Olwe's people. You'd think he could figure out the dwarves. Feanor is a craftsman. The Teleri are saying these ships are precious to us because we made them. Like the Teleri know how to speak Feanor's language because he just made his whole impassioned spiel about recovering his precious jewels, and they're like, yes, what we care about are ships, and we're never giving them up either. Like, so they try to speak his language, but he doesn't speak theirs. And
right.
It's a misstep. And I think that Tolkien intentionally uses evil viewpoints as being limited and having a loss of creativity.
Right.
So Feanor's failure here is symptomatic of his fall. Like the reason he can't have this conversation with Olwe is because he is too caught up in his own revenge to see through someone else's eyes anymore.
Right.
So like a younger, less angry Feanor could have maybe figured this out.
Right. So we have Feanor entering Aqualande. Maybe he sends one or two of them, of his sons, to go and let Olwe know that they're there, that he wants to meet with them, and blah, 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 blah. We have a scene going through, like, kind of looking over the ships and stuff like that, because we need to be relatively familiar with them before we get to the actual kinslaying. Dave asked, what are we going to have Feanor request? Does he want passage, or does he actually want the ships? He's got to start out asking for passage.
Yes.
And for backup, essentially. The Teleri are the most numerous, even after losing like
most of the people.
The people, they're still the most numerous there. So
his first goal is to convert them to his side and join their force to his. So he wants them to join his rebellion and be part of what he's doing, so that he has a bigger army and all that. When they aren't interested in joining him, then he wants passage. When they refuse that, he's like, well, I just want the ships then. I don't need you at all. To which they're like, hell no. But
if you think that I'm going to give you my ships, you have another thing coming, Buster.
Which is when the negotiation falls apart. But that's the progression. We do need Earwen to be there before all of this. She needs to get there before Feanor. So the first thing after the Eonwe scene, like after we're done dealing with whatever aftermath of that, we do need to do the Earwen and Olwe scene.
Right. Okay. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's issues with having her there, but we should deal with those issues instead of avoiding them.
Right. Okay. So we have her enter Aqualande. What is their conversation about? Because if we give, does she just say that? Did Feanor send her?
No. There's no way he would. Feanor would not let her speak for him. Even though it should be really obvious, he has a sister-in-law who's the daughter of the king. Like, make use of her. Feanor's not going to do that. He's very much distrusting of his half-siblings and their wives. So
they're non-Noldor wives with their
exactly
with their queer ways of thinking and
So she has to be there on her own. And she has to be speaking for herself, not for her people. But she has to not betray the Noldor in this. Like, she can't look like she's running ahead to give warning that the British are coming, the British are coming. Like, that's not what this is, even though it kind of is.
Well, she could be asking Olwe. Well, she could be asking him for counsel. What does he think that she should do?
Okay, yeah, because it should not necessarily. Well, because we've already had the scene with the potential farewells where the wives are like, "We're not coming," but maybe that's not what the wives said in that scene. Maybe they said, "We'll come with you part way," or "We're not sure about this," or something. And then so she's like, "Let me go talk to my father if decide if I'm going to say goodbye to him or you."
Right.
Not even realizing that Feanor is going to come and request that the Teleri join.
Right. Right.
So yeah, she just has to be bearing news, but she can't repeat what already happened because, again, telling the audience something they already know.
Right.
So she has to tell Olwe about what happened in Tyrion without just repeating it. So it has to be her opinion that we haven't really heard yet, like her spin on everything. And I mean, her character can be whatever we want it to be. She could be.
Well, her spin could be like, because we've seen a lot of what the lords of the Noldor are thinking.
Right.
But she could give us an insight on what the average Joe who lives in Tyrion is thinking.
Right. Like, I'm thinking that she's been a very minor character, as in we've had her do almost absolutely nothing up to this point. So she's obviously not super involved in the court or all the arguments and the drama that's been going on. She steps back from all that. So it's possible that the people of Tyrion are who she spends time with, or her children, or whatever, that she's involved in a different aspect of the court. And so yeah, she could be giving an outsider view a little bit of what just happened, and explain that the Noldor are afraid and angry, and that they've lost their king, and that things are a little chaotic right now. Like, she could kind of put that spin on it to Olwe. And
that
and he's like, get it sorted. Like, this is not the end of the world.
Yeah. So he's going. So the opinion that he expresses to her is to have faith in what the Valar are going to do.
Right. That, yes, it looks bleak right now, but wait for their counterstrike and everything will be fine.
Right. It's not like they haven't handled him before,
Right. They know how to deal with Melkor, and
Olwe has personally seen the result of that.
How so?
Because, well, not
the island,
but he's experienced the War of the Powers, at least from a distance.
Oh yes, okay, yes.
He knows better than anyone in that room what the Valar are capable of.
Right, and that's the whole second generation thing. The people, the ones born in Valinor who don't have any memory of Middle Earth, versus the ones who came on the journey. Like, so Olwe is a good voice for the older generation of, we've seen what the Valar can do. Don't worry about it. Melkor, sure, he's powerful, sure, he's scary, sure, he did some bad things, but he's no match for them.
Right.
Okay.
And if she's really pressing on the issue of Finway's death, Olwe can remind us what death means to the elves also.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't know, but like, it wouldn't kill us to, get a quick reminder.
We need it here before this happens, because as the host figured out, if death doesn't mean the same thing to the elves as to men, then you have to remind your audience what it does mean, because it's different and they view things differently, and that's not how it works for us. So it's not an automatic insight.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, and if you can have Olwe specifically call out that he doesn't have a fear of death, it does help with the host's thing of not having him attempt to defend himself against Feanor when Feanor attacks him. The problem is that you don't get onto a ship with people who don't want you on it without having to fight through to get up there. That's the issue I have with that whole thing.
Yeah. a lot of movies like to do that. Like, I am the good guy, so after I disarm my opponent, I will turn my back and say, don't worry, I will let you live because I'm the good guy. Of course, the bad guy will then betray him by going for his alternate weapon and trying to stab him in the back, and then he will quickly turn around and kill him anyway. Like, that whole scenario is completely unrealistic in that that's not how things play out. But a lot of movies use that to make the good guy still look like a good guy and not a vicious killer.
Right.
So we do have to make Olwe look like a good guy.
Right.
But I don't think we should make him a pacifist.
Right.
Like, he's not a refusing to wield weapons kind of guy. He's just but doesn't fear death is a good place for him to be. And I want to contrast the calmness of the Teleri with the fear of the Noldor, because even though none of them are turning back because of fear, it doesn't mean they're not reacting out of fear.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, like, they are afraid. They're not afraid of this journey. They're not afraid of doing something dangerous or potentially rash, but they are fearful. Whereas the Teleri are calm.
Yes, I agree.
The Noldor are very.
The Noldor are very what? Yeah. Well, my timer just went off for us to take a break, so I'm gonna do that because Marie just froze again. So, if you're watching us live, hang in there. We'll be back in a second. If you're watching us on YouTube in the future, definitely like and share the videos. If you like and want to share them, like button should be general that one of these sides on one of those sides. Anyway, if you haven't yet, subscribe, because then you can get notifications as to when things are happening, which cool stuff. Check out the forums, good stuff on there. Get involved. We need more people. It'd be awesome for you to get more involved. Anyway, we'll be back in a minute.